coming to you from our studios in Newsplex, Asia. You are watching Eco Business News.
Good evening, I'm Victoria and you're watching Eco Business News. Following the Responsible Business Forum on Sustainable Development last week, we take a closer look at how some businesses are going green. In our first story, reporter Gabriel Goh visits a unique restaurant that grows the food it cooks.
Nestled in the heart of town, Open Farm Community serves food with fresh ingredients from an unusual source, its own urban farm. With 35,000 square feet of land space, the establishment is one of the few but growing number of food and beverage businesses working towards environmentally responsible operations.
First of all, we actually get to see and experience how from scratch the vegetable is grown, when the thing is actually ripe and when it is able to be taken out of the ground. It's a lot different from just calling a supplier and say, I want a carton of daikon today.
Along with a greater culinary experience, the restaurant also educates people on locally grown produce and the positive implications it can have to the environment.
It's about supporting the local movement, reducing our carbon footprint as well as our food miles. It is a lot about closening up and tightening the food supply chain.
The restaurant does its part by adapting their menu to accommodate the plants that can grow here. This reduces the need to import large amounts of food from overseas.
In urban farms like this, growing food for the kitchen is not the only aim. Open Farm Community also sees its land space as an area to experiment and find out which plants grow best in Singapore's tropical climate.
The nature of Singapore's urban landscape requires innovative ways to fully utilize its space.
So we make use of a lot of the space that we have on rooftops, and then we do a lot of stuff in containers as well. So it's also to encourage people to grow stuff in their apartment.
More people are showing interest in urban farming, as well as its benefits to both their businesses and the environment.
Another restaurant down the road is now doing the same thing as us. They're having their own garden, they're picking their own herbs, growing their own vegetables. So I think pretty soon, if enough people do it, you won't have to get everything from overseas, and it will actually be sustainable to have your own stuff.
Widely regarded as a food paradise, Singapore has a growing food and beverage industry. Open Farm Community is a model for how similar businesses can take small steps towards sustainability. This is Gabriel Goh for Eco Business News.
So you might have heard the term food miles in that story, but what exactly does it mean? Here's data analyst Jared Alex Tan to tell us more.
Hi, I'm Jared Alex Tan and I'm here to tell you more about food miles. Singapore imports more than 90% of its food from other countries, and this heavy reliance on imports are causing major repercussions to our environment. These damages can be calculated through something we call food miles, which represent the distance your food travels from where it is made to where it's eaten. According to the Agri-Food and Veterinary Authority, Singapore's top 3 sources of food come from Malaysia, Australia, and Brazil. Assuming that these food products were transported via plane, it would take more than 16,000 kilometers to reach our shores from Brazil, in turn producing more than 3,700 kilograms of carbon dioxide. Even food from a country as close as Malaysia travels a surprising 317 kilometers, producing 71 kilograms of CO2. To put things in perspective, it takes 1 year for 185 trees to absorb the same amount of carbon dioxide produced in a day. So how exactly do these food miles affect the environment? While carbon dioxide is naturally exchanged within the environment to moderate Earth's temperature, producing CO2 excessively strikes an imbalance, causing more heat to be trapped and therefore causing an increase in Earth's temperature. Despite being one of the smallest countries in the world, Singapore ranks 30th in carbon emissions globally. According to a report by the World Wildlife Fund, if every person in the world were to live like a Singaporean, it would take 4.1 planets to sustain this lifestyle. This is definitely a cause for concern for Singapore if it continues to import food from other countries, as the food miles will continue to produce an excessive amount of carbon dioxide. And that's about all from me. Back to you in the studio, Victoria.
Reducing food miles is one way to decrease carbon emissions, but could a business be completely carbon neutral? Reporter Nur Humaira finds out.
Tucked away in a corner of 50 Scots Road, Muddy Grass operates a coffee joint, mounted on a bicycle. The setup is part of a larger global initiative known as the Bicycle Barista. This aims to create a community of coffee makers who pursue their passion but with a much smaller carbon footprint. While helping the environment, this business model has also enabled aspiring entrepreneurs to carve out a space for themselves. Stopping for a cup of coffee at the Bicycle Barista has in fact become a daily ritual for many people working at the office. With the reach of the Bicycle Barista expanding in business centres like New York and Singapore, more people are being exposed to such social enterprises and the part they play in reducing the corporate carbon footprint.
And that's all the time we have today. This has been Eco Business News. Good night.
For more information and the latest environmental business updates, visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/ecobusinessnews.